Hello and welcome to xRM1 Business Solutions. xRM1 is a globally active software manufacturer for business solutions based on the Microsoft Dynamics platform. We are offering solutions for project, HR, and idea management, as well as time tracking.
Hello and welcome to today's training session for the use of activities in CRM-Project. Activities in CRM-Project have several fields of application. If this is a timeline, so let's say I plan an activity on next Friday, then I create this activity, it's for planning. At the same time, it blocks me out from my resource calendar. As soon as this due date is reached and we mark this activity as complete, this activity acts as time entry, and as soon as the invoicing date is reached and when we want to invoice, we can take the activity and invoice it to the customer. Of course, there's some more fields of application for activities. Of course, you always take that for communication and keep the communication you have internally to a project, or you might have with a customer. And of course, you can always take these activities for reporting or everything else you need. In CRM-Project, we can use almost every activity, especially the following. We have all standard CRM activities, and there's some 4 other activities that we have added within CRM-Project. In this video, I want to go through with you of these activities, what is necessary, what do you need to do, and what is the purpose, why would you take which activity type. I would start with the task. A task is something you, I guess, already know. I go back into my Dynamics CRM system. You have several fields you can create. You can, of course, create them from your Outlook. You can create them from within the Quick Create. You can create them from the activity list, or you can also create them within a project. Within a project, we also have the related activities, or we can create them from the work breakdown structure. I open up the work breakdown structure. You can see already existing activities, connected activities, by clicking on this filter to activities. You can then see all activities, all open, my activities or my open. If I click my all activities, I see all activities created to that. The activities in planning are in orange, the completed in green. So if I now want to create a new activity, what I do is I right click on the subnode where it should be underneath, say add subnode, and then I can create the activity type that I want to create. So if I say task, the task is created, and we can from here open up the task and fill all required information. The required information for task is the subject, the owner, so who's doing this job, and the duration, how long, and the due date. So for example, in this case, we have prepare environment regarding the owner is Paul Morrison. He's the one who's doing this job. For him, it's the time entry and the billing. Of course, you can also assign the task to somebody else. We have the duration, for example, 1 hour, and the due date. As soon as it's saved, it's a planning activity. It's for planning purposes. As soon as you mark it as complete, this activity is a time entry. We can also add the other activities, for example, fax, phone call, email, letter. I think I don't need to go through all of these, as this is not the most common and you probably already know those. I want to create with you an appointment. Within the appointment, we need to add the following information. We need to have, of course, the subject. We need the regarding. And what is really necessary is that add the required attendees. The required attendee does not necessarily need to be one person. You can have also several persons. It is important that you have users. So you can say you and your colleague are participating. It's time entry or planning for all people set up in the required field. But it is necessary that you put yourself in also if you are participating. So let's say we do an appointment for Paul Morrison and Peter Maurer. Then I go in and select both. Now it's taking it for me, Paul Morrison, and Peter Maurer. I again have the start and the end date. As soon as I have saved it, it's a planning activity for both. And as soon as I mark it as complete, this activity is a time entry for both of them. So it's for both people set up in the required field. If it won't be only one person, it won't be only for one person. If I do this time entry for myself, it's important that I put myself in as required. So marker is complete, and then it's a time entry for both. An appointment can also be created in your Outlook calendar, as if you're using the CRM plugin in your Outlook, it is synchronized to your Outlook or the other way around. So this will be synchronized, or I can go into my Outlook and create an appointment from there. So I go in and set up the duration. I set the subject. I need to set up the regarding to the project so we can have it connected and we know to which project it belongs. And the last but most important step is to put the people as required, as we have that in our appointment also. Therefore, you invite the people that are doing this job. In here, it's again necessary that you put yourself as required. So if you are participating in this appointment, you want to plan this appointment for you or do the time entry for you, you need to put yourself in and invite yourself. So you can either do this through this invite button or through the scheduling assistant. So if I again want to do Paul Morrison and Peter Maurer, I put both people in. Please pay attention that you take users, not contacts, and as soon as they're in, you can view them in CRM. I can show you them already in my project list. If I go to BLI CRM realization, we have that here already, prepared training material, and if you want to take this as a time entry, we just go in and mark it as complete, and then as soon as it happened, it acts as a time entry. So this is the appointment. There's also the service activity. The service activity is the standard service activity from CRM. So if you're using service activity, use it the same way you have done before. If you don't, I would recommend to take the appointment. So there's some other activities in CRM-Project that are not from standard. They are delivered with the xRM1. It is, for example, the rendered service. So there's three purposes you can use the rendered service for. The first is the bulk time entries for employee. You can use it for time entry for external resources or as time entry for business units. Of course, not only time entry, also for planning and invoicing. So if I want to do it for an employee, I go back into my rendered service. What I do is I save what I did to the project, the owner. We have a start and the end date, but there's only the end date necessary, and we have to implement it by employee. You might know that activities in CRM are stored with minutes. Therefore, we cannot use activities for time entries that are longer than 1 man day or 1 day. Because if you in an appointment say it's 1 day or 2 day event, it stores them in minutes. So 1 day is 24 hours and 24 hours are 3 man days. That's why you take the activities, the standard activities for the end time entry less than 1 man day or until 1 man day. And if you want to track several man days, you go into and take a rendered service. And here you can tell how many man days did you work on a project. This can be, for example, you were out of the office and you come in on Friday and you want to enter that. So you say 3 man days. If you have created it, it's a planned activity. As soon as you mark it as complete, it is done. We can use the rendered service for external resources. We want to plan an external resource and then enter its time. So I want to add an activity, go to rendered service and set up. For the external resources, in most cases, I can't define when it will happen. I can only say in this time frame, I need that amount of time. This is why we have a start date from when it should be, and a due date maybe until the date it should be. We can say it was an external resources, and we can tell how many days it was. If we have an external resource doing it, we need to say what kind of service it did use, so we can later also invoice that, and we can need to say which account or contact did it. It's saved. It's just a planning activity unless you mark it as complete, and then it's a time entry against your project. And the third thing is the time entry for business unit. You just go in, create the rendered service. What you select is you say it is implemented by business unit. Need to select the work and the business unit that is entering its time. So this is the rendered service, but we might not only have work against the project. We might also have material or resources that we use in our project. We want to track them and maybe invoice them as well. And if this is the case, we then take one of the two below activity types, resource usage or material usage. The difference between the resource usage and the material usage is the resources are resources in the system that stay in the system or in the company, and the material is something that you provide to the customer that goes out to the customer, does not stay in the company. So if we are using a resource, we create a resource usage. What we do is we again say what it was, and we select the resource that we were taken. Here you take, for facility or equipment, you can take whatever is set in your company, and you will see that the cost per unit will automatically retrieved from the cost that you have set up in your resource. If you say the units, the cost will automatically triggered against your project. And here we have the speciality that you can, within the resource usage, define the billing amount, because the billing amount can be different from the cost that you're having. You can, in the billing amount, just say how much you want to get for it. So you can say you have had costs for 20, but you, for example, will sell that for 100. As soon as you save that, it's a planned activity. As if you have market as complete, it is done. This is the resource usage, but there's also the material usage. In case you're selling something, you would take the material usage, you select the product that you are selling to the customer, and then again, based on the cost that you have set up within the product, you can already get the costs per unit, and you can set up the billable amount, which can be higher than what it costs you. So these are the activities in CRM. We have the several activities. We can use almost all CRM activities. There's several fields of application. So you take them for planning, time entry, billing, communication, reporting.
For more information regarding our products, services, customer experience, and support, you are invited to visit our website, xRM1.com.